My name is Matt. If you're new to the channel, I talk about news and conspiracies and everything in between. So, in today's video, we're going to talk about ancient civilizations and exactly what our story was. So, I'm going to go ahead and minimize my screen here. So, first thing we're going to look at, guys, is a image that I got off of online, Google, Reddit, and essentially it explains the first wave earliest civilizations. So these civilizations are what you would call the cradle civilizations, right? And these civilizations are going to span from China to the Indus Valley to Mesopotamia to Egypt to Mesoamerica and even to the Andes, okay? And each civilization that you see here are essentially the mother cultures, guys. These are civilizations that predate most civilizations that you know that you've heard of. And these civilizations are essentially going to establish the foundation for every culture thereafter. Okay? So now that we know the geographical locations of these civilizations, let's go ahead and pan over to a video I found on YouTube. It's really interesting. It's supposedly the most ancient site that they have found in all of the Americas, right? And this would, I guess, would probably push back the Mesoamerican civilization by thousands of years. So essentially, this civilization, it's the pyramid city of Caral in Peru, and essentially is thought to be the mother city capital, and it's supposed to be as old as the mother culture of Egypt or older. So let's watch.
There's a magnificent lost pyramid city in the heart of Peru, a city that dates back to the same time as the Giza pyramids of Egypt. Yes, the magnificent ancient city of Caral dates back to 2627 BC and is known as the mother city of South America by some archaeologists.
But they don't really this 2600 BC date is everything's getting pushed back. So we'll wait and see how those time frames hold up. But let's keep watching.
For over a century, archaeologists were searching for such a mother city, and this large settlement, located 120 miles north of Lima, is one of the most ancient of the Americas, home to the North Chico civilization. Apologies if I've said that incorrectly. It was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site back in 2009. The city was occupied between the 26th and 20th centuries BC and was described by excavators as the oldest urban center in the Americas. But since its discovery in 1948, other ancient sites such as Banduria in Peru have challenged this title.
You see, they're finding more and more sites. Like the time frame just continues to get pushed back and pushed back. We really don't know our past, guys. As I said before, the past that we've been told continues to change.
Astonishingly, it was found in pristine condition and nothing had been built over it since the ancient city was deserted. It would have been home to more than 3,000 people, with an elaborate complex of temples and amphitheatre, as well as more regular dwellings covering 370 acres of land. There are plazas and residential buildings, and of course there are pyramids. Caral is the largest recorded site in the Andean region, with dates older than 2000 BC. And experts say it was the model for the urban design adopted by the Andean civilizations that rose and fell for the 4 millennia that followed.
Wow, so this is thought to have actually predated the mother culture in the Andes region, guys. So this site is very old, very old. So thanks out to the Ancient Architects YouTube channel for doing this video that we're covering. So we're actually going to go ahead and hop over to an article, another YouTube video that I pulled up, and I want you guys to watch this and let me know what you guys think.
The Egyptians themselves proved to be just as fascinating as the archaeological remnants, because when I asked them what they believe the origin of the temple sites were in their own backyard, what they told me is that Egypt is much, much older than traditional archaeology has been led to believe, and that the ancient Egyptians did not even call themselves Egyptians. There was a time that Egypt was known as Kemet.
Kimmel is essentially what the mother culture called himself, what we think, right? So they didn't call themselves Egyptians, guys, right? That's what you have to understand. Like these ancient civilizations, they didn't call them, like Aztecs didn't call themselves Aztecs, right? These cultures didn't. We're giving them these names, right? Because we're rewriting the history. Like people will just, a lot of historians will sit there and just like tell you what they think, and what they think, right? The think tank decides to create the narrative of what our history was. And right now we're rapidly discovering our history, guys. So there's a lot more, I think, to be discovered. Honestly, I think there's a lot more sites. But let's keep watching.
I came away from those early conversations. I think the phrase that stuck with me the most when I asked about who were these first people, the phrase that came across so many times were the words Septepi, Septepi. And what this literally translates into, it means the first time. And it strongly implies that Egypt has evolved over a period of cycles or phases. What I learned from the people, the Egyptians themselves, proved to be just as fascinating as the archaeological remnants, because when I asked them what they believe the origin of the temple sites were in their own backyard, what they told me is that Egypt is much, much older than traditional archaeology has been led to believe, and that the ancient Egyptians did not even call themselves Egyptians. There was a time that Egypt was known as Kemet.
Kemet. Right. So, anyways, guys, look. As you saw in the video, guys, look. People are trying to discover our past. We are, but the problem is that we've been fed a narrative that really isn't completely true. Whether there's malintentions or not, I'm not sure. But I will say that a lot of our history that we thought we knew is being changed every single day, guys. So just remember that. So. And it kind of goes to show you that like these mother cultures are, that were around the world that I showed you guys over here. Look, the mother cultures, from China to Indus Valley to Mesopotamia, Nile Valley, Mesoamerica, and the Andes. They're much older cultures, guys. I mean, people think that we have everything figured out, and we don't. Not everything is figured out, guys. In these regions, there's sites being discovered all across the world. I'm gonna pan over to another video now. This is from the Joe Rogan podcast. It's a clip, and it kind of validates a lot of things. But one thing I want to show you guys, this is from the Joe Rogan podcast. The author that's on there is Graham Hancock, and his theory is that the maps have changed so much that from the modern era maps to the older maps, they're different, and continents like Antarctica was left out, and on older maps, Antarctica was on there. See, how did older maps have all the continents, and how are they so accurate? Because these ancient cultures, going back to this site right here, that predated the Andes culture, the Incas, the mother culture here in Egypt, Kemet, the site was called, I think, and then, going over here to this article, this video, Graham's essentially is going to explain that he thinks that these earlier cultures actually had a much better understanding of the earth and all the continents than we did. So let's watch.
Of these maps is what's called the Pinkerton World Map, which was drawn in the year 1818, and it was based on the latest navigational information at that time. What's missing from the map, entirely missing, is Antarctica. There's just a hole at the bottom of the world. There's nothing there.
Was that intentional, or was that just a pure mistake? I wonder.
That Antarctica is not there is that our civilization hadn't discovered Antarctica in 1818. So they couldn't authentically put it on a map in 1818. Actually, we discovered it in 1819, and that's when it starts appearing on modern maps. problem is that Antarctica appears repeatedly on these much older maps, and it appears in the right place, and a bit bigger than it is today, but very much as it looked during the last ice age. So what all of this suggests to me is that the world was mapped and explored by a global seafaring culture with a level of technology that was at least equivalent to ours at the end of the 18th century, during the ice age.
So he's stating that he thinks that there's a global civilization, seafaring civilization, navigating the planet, mapping out everything. And I'm not saying he's wrong, because consider this, right? Look how much our technology has advanced in the last 100 years, guys. Okay? But then realize something. A house will only last not even 100 years, right? How long would your laptop last outside? How long would your cell phone last outside? When you start weathering these devices, they don't last very long. So then you have to start asking yourself, these civilizations that predated, that were prior to the last ice age, 12,000, 13,000 years ago, guys, some of our major construction achievements won't even last 100 years without major maintenance, guys. Houses don't last 100 years. You have to rehab a house every 20 to 30 years. So you start to ask yourself, well, okay, if these were advanced civilizations then, and they were sea-bearing civilizations, then these cultures, and they mapped out the planet, then if they had technology like you and I think of today, cell phones, laptops, and houses and stuff like that, those devices would not be, I don't think we would find those devices. If they had laptops, they had, cell phones, they had, let's just call it houses like we think of, all of that would be eroded away, weathered away. They wouldn't have any of that stuff, right? But the only things that would last the test of time would be these archaeological sites like the pyramids that you see around the planet, guys, right? These archaeological sites that were stone, right? So these are the things that are lasting the test of time. And you can even see on these sites, they're starting to be eroded away, guys. Even these ancient sites are starting to be eroded away. So it makes you think that if there was a civilization, right, that was global, then would they, not all of their technological achievements would still be here. Remember that, guys. So let's go over, pan over to an archaeological site. This is Teotihuacan. This is in Mexico City, well, near Mexico City. Teotihuacan is an ancient Mesoamerican city located in the sub-valley of the Valley of Mexico, which is located in the state of Mexico, 40 kilometers northeast of modern-day Mexico City. Teotihuacan is known today as a site of many of the most archaeological significant Mesoamerican pyramids built in the pre-Columbian Americas, namely the Pyramids of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon. Although close to Mexico City, Teotihuacan was not a Mexica Aztec city, and it predates the Mexican Empire by many centuries. At its zenith, perhaps in the first half of the first millennium, 1 CE to 500 CE, Teotihuacan was the largest city in the Americas with a population of 25,000, but has been estimated at more than 125,000 people, making it at least the sixth largest city in the world during its epoch. Wow. And look at this, guys. Do you think people riding around on horseback and shooting bows and arrows created that? Look at that, guys. I mean, look at that. Do you really think so? Do you really think people on horseback and, shooting bow and arrows built that precision? It blows my mind how people think that these people were so primitive. But when you look at these sites, they're so precise. They've stood the test of time. I mean, our houses, our sites don't even last this long, right? It just makes you think, like, are we really being told the full truth, the full story? And I'm